CEOs and salespeople are confident that their opinion is the right one. Are they? Welcome to the CEO and Salesman podcast, where we talk about today's business issues and we'll let you work out who's right. It's me, by the way.
Hi, welcome again to the CEO and the Salesman podcast, where we talk about small to medium business issues and how we can help each other grow. And it's become a little bit of a coaching session for me, and certainly not agony aunt, but certainly Daniel's an incredible person to bounce ideas off. So welcome again, Daniel. How are you today?
Matt, thanks. I'm really good. Good to see you. Thanks. I appreciate the intro. It's always fun to get an accolade like that.
I love talking to smart people, and that's something that really keeps me going every single day. And actually, quick shout out to you, mate. I just wanted to share a little story to sort of start the podcast, start the conversation today, and thank you and point a particular area out that has been a bit of a challenge for me, and maybe some of our listeners can also, I guess, relate to. So over the last couple of months, we've had, so the business has changed a bit, where we're sort of trying out different ways of management. We're trying out different things, and cash flow has been a real challenge. We're trying to upskill, we're trying to bring new people on, and with clients, a whole bunch of issues that I'm sure many of our listeners would have as well. So look, I get these reports every single week, and I've got a pretty good business card. I've got an understanding of where I think the business is and what we need to, what it looks like. And I actually found that those reports coming in, I'd have a slightly optimistic thought about it. I get the report and go, oh, so it actually wasn't helping me run the business at all. It was actually just, I won't say negging me out, but reinforcing that I know that there's some things that need to occur, and I wasn't sure what to do about it. Couple of weeks ago, you talked about your forecasting and how you in your business every single month reforecast for 3 months.
Actually, 12. We forecast to the end of the financial year.
End of the financial year. Okay, so even more in depth.
Yeah.
And so I took that on board and sort of ran around and bubbled around in my head for a minute. And I thought, well, this is what I need to do again. I need to get back to doing that. So when I was just managing a sales room, we would do exactly that. We would figure out what we know what is contracted, what is expected with high conviction, and then hopeful. And I actually, a couple of days ago, at the end of, being the end of the month, I went ahead, grabbed out Excel and started typing. And just by doing that, by breaking out contracted dollars and what we're doing there, high conviction expected. So we've only got to press a button, or we're going to do one thing, and then this revenue gets released. And then expected. Well, rather than it being a rear vision mirror report, this is actually a forward looking out of the windscreen, where now I know that all the bills and the whole business is sorted out for the month under contracted and expected. And I have now laser-like focused on what do I need to do. So I just want to shout out and say thank you. You've my emotional state is better. My financial state will hopefully be better. And I just want to say thank you for that. That's a really valuable thing. I know you said it as an offhand thing, but that's been really valuable for me.
Yeah, Matt. Look, thank you for that. It's fascinating to understand why it's had such a big emotional impact on you. I mean, why do you think that? Because it's not like your business changed because you did that. Yeah, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, good question. So I think the greatest resource that I have for my business is my vision, and that vision is based on, I won't say hope, because that sounds a bit wishy-washy, and hope's not a plan. But for me, because I'm still in the trenches, right? I'm still making the sales and doing the consulting. I've got a different style of business than you. And for me to be effective, I need to be clear in my mind.
Yeah.
And my motivation drops if I'm not clear.
Yeah.
So that's why it helped me, because I love being really productive in a day. I finish a day and think, have I had a productive day? And if I haven't, I sort of beat myself up, which creates less productivity.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think because we're a small business, so we're talking about budgeting and forecasting. It's a very personal experience. With big corporations have a very different mechanism. But I think if you were to get a set of financial reports for what's already happened, you sort of you're detached from it because you innately know there's nothing you can do about it. It's already happened. There's just, and you're such a get up and go guy, if I can say it that way. That's actually depressing. Like you're looking at these numbers and go, I can't do anything about that.
Yep.
That happened last month, the month before. But when you're sitting down and thinking about, right, I've got a problem to solve, and then breaking it down to your drivers, which is what you did. Here are your different business types and your future. And look, the 3-month forecasting conversation is completely valid as well, because most businesses like us, you can't actually forecast your sales beyond 3 months. It's a bit of a fantasy after that. But I'll talk about that in a second, though. But by looking at that 3 months, all of a sudden, I'm hoping you feel control.
That's the emotion.
Yeah.
I felt in control.
Yeah.
There wasn't more money magically in the account, but I just felt more in control, and I was focusing on, trying to get money out of clients that we'd already built, and there was and they're having their own businesses challenge, or they're whatever that's happening over there. It's hard. I can't. There's no excitement. If they pay their bill, well, then they bloody well should have. Not happy days.
That's right. Chasing in debt doesn't add to your day, does it?
It doesn't. That's right.
Does not add to your day at all. But I think, that sense of, here's the crazy thing. I did warn you, if you make this the topic, we will only ever talk about this.
Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing. As much as I've been doing it for a very long time with many different companies, we get it as wrong as much as we get it right. Okay. What I do know, because we have the discipline, we're always forward looking.
Yes.
Always forward looking. And the reason the reason I like doing 4-year forecasts, and quite frankly, we're a small business now, but as we go larger, is it Simon Sinek? He did Infinite Game. I don't know if you've ever read that.
Yes.
Book. Yeah. And this whole idea that you only report up to end of financial year and there's a black hole into next year, it's a little bit insane when you think about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, we're going to let go of 3,000 people because we need to make a profit. Then we'll maybe hire again 12 months later because things have changed. But so to me, in certain types of businesses, you can just forecast continuously, right? But what we're doing for 12 months is after the 3 months, what we have to rely on is past performance.
Right.
Yeah, because we don't.
So you go back to the last 12 months quarter and look at that, and then make some decisions on that, not based on where you are today. Is that what you're saying?
That's right. And it's different to targets. We have sales targets, but sales targets are there to be aspired to, right? Don't never put your sales target in your financial model. It'll tell you that you need to employ 50 people. But what we do is, look, this time, like we've been in business for a while, historically, we tend to do this type of business. And then we add on top of that what our commitment is, right? So like we would say, look, last year we did this. We think we can do better for these reasons. You've got to rationalize it.
Yes.
You can't just say we're going to do better, because everybody wants to do better, right?
Yeah.
And then we take out, but because we're doing it every single month, that window just keeps getting pushed out until you eventually get to end of financial year. And what we're really doing is we're actually targeting a result for the business. We're not targeting sales, right? Because if you think about it, let's just say you're rolling forward every 3 months and you're not actually getting your sales, and there could be really good reasons for that. Recession, right? It just could, things outside of your control. Well, then you need to start trimming elsewhere if you want to still hit your end result.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just a business decision that needs to be made. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I like that. And further to that, and so you operate in a much more strategic world than I advise on these things, but I'm also, I feel like I'm the plumber with a leaky toilet sometimes, is that I know these things, I've trained in these things, but then applying it to my own business, I find myself stuck in the weeds.
Yeah.
And one thing I needed to remind myself of is that, I'm out there thinking about where the business needs to go. If we hit these numbers, then I can achieve this particular goal. If I hit these numbers, I can do these particular things with the business. And I was thinking about these high numbers, thinking, well, I need to aim high, and that's true. I need to think about that. But when in my day-to-day, if I think about that, it becomes, I won't say stifling, but it becomes, there's no clear activity attached to achieving this big number. And so what I had to do for myself is I actually speaking with another person I respect their opinion on, and we're talking about sport. and he loves soccer. He's a Dutch guy. Shout out to Martin if you're watching. And so we were talking, and he says, "Well, there are people who are interested in winning the championship, but when you're running up the field and your defenders are coming after you, you're not thinking about the championship in 3 months' time. You're thinking about beating this guy and putting the ball in the back of the net."
Yeah.
And so what I took away from that, because I'm still the sales, sort of the person that brings the revenue in for the business, is rather than saying I need 3 deals this month, I focus on the next deal. What's the one deal? How can I score the next goal? Because once I've completed that one, then I can do another one.
Yeah.
Which once again reminded me back when I was running my sales room, we had 7 guys in the sales room. Actually, well, there was one girl in the sales room, and there was an extremely successful business. We were doing $10 million a year in new sales, and there was no recurring revenue in that business. So it was every month, whiteboard got wiped clean, start again, go. And we did. We did reasonably well. But I said, okay, what's the next deal? And my conversation was constantly, it wasn't what are you expecting this month? Because that was an esoteric, number was too big. This is stuff that I know and I deployed when I was 25.
Yeah.
And I'm having to remind myself at 46 that actually this is a real thing. What's my next deal?
Matt, can I ask you why? I mean, because it's always great when you remember a discipline and you embrace it again and you get value out of it. What's happened between then and now that it's sort of got a bit murky for you? What sort of is different, do you think?
Oh, well, I'll just talk about the recent history.
Yeah.
I'm running the whole business. I have, I've taken on all of the issues and still being the chief salesperson, strategist, running projects. I've got a project manager, but I'm doing a lot of activities that are outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So
many hats,
too many
covering
hats
across many disciplines.
That's
and
it.
you wake up and go, what do I do today? Literally, because there's 5 different things, all the same priority.
Yep. I got 5 jobs. I got, so I don't know about 5, but certainly I've got to think about, well, are all the team members productive and working towards the goal of delivery for clients? That's project management. Then they go, right, admin, look at my report, and then go, okay, well, what is that telling me? And then I go, admin, all right, I'm going to be strategist because I'm working with the client and doing and talking about sales and marketing, and then a bit of finance and a bit of and all these other, and then business owner, and then salesperson.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hats there, right?
You know what's fascinating about this, and I love the sports analogy about, I think teams and business, because I guess they're a game, even a game talks about that. There are rules and we play to win, but what a professional or an elite sporting team will do, whether they win or lose, they do post-match review, right?
Yes.
They will look at every single goal or try they went after, the ones they didn't get, the ones they did get, the lost opportunities. They would do post-match review, and they do that to get better next time, right? Because yes, while they're in the game, they're playing, they're focusing on scoring that goal. That's a build-up if everything's got them to that point. So in business, what we want to do is we want to forecast. And when we get it wrong, do a post-match review. What didn't we understand? What drivers did get wrong? What assumptions were wrong in our forecast? And you do that post-match every single month and you get better. Because you go, oh, I thought that deal was going to come in. It didn't. Is that an anomaly, or is this a trend that I'm seeing? Everyone's delaying by a month or 2 or something, So and then that's why that forecasting, it's more than just the numbers. It's actually the drivers for your business.
Yes. I like that. I actually did put a line in the spreadsheet saying, actual and then difference.
Yeah.
But that it's probably worth it. So you do it every month, do you?
Yeah, look, I've been in other companies, been way more sophisticated than what I'm doing now. We're only about 20 people, so there's not a lot of drivers for what we do.
Yep.
But and when I say drivers, it's all the typical things. If you're a business which requires a lot of marketing effort, well, you want to understand conversion rates, and you want to do that every month. Yeah, and that's a no-brainer to you, right? So,
yes, I totally get that. Yeah,
because that's all. Then you want to understand sales conversion rates, but then on the ops side, remember we talk about it's actually operations that make sure you're the profit, not sales team. They make revenue, and the ops team, you've got to understand. Well, I've got 3 people and I'm expecting this amount of billing. This is the ratio. Now, and I didn't achieve the revenue expectation as that because they were sick.
Yep.
They took leave. Is the rate too low? Are we taking twice as long, and why?
Yes.
You know, and understanding all of that will help your 5 hat syndrome. Let's write a book and call it the 5 hat syndrome. The 5 hat syndrome, because if you look at your drivers and go, oh, well, that's really a service driver and that's gone wrong, I probably need to do something about it and have a chat to the team. And hopefully that would help if you get to that point.
Yeah.
In theory, even for your type of business, you'll be able to go, this type of contract will lead to this ongoing revenue, which will cost me this much to service.
Yes.
And this much to service in your business is people.
Yep. It's an absolute body shop. I sell it. I buy hours for a certain dollar amount and I sell them for a different dollar amount.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And in fact, people, I think, are the best type of business to be in, because you have a team, morale, rah, rah, rah. But they're also the most expensive thing to have sitting on a seat doing nothing. Right?
Yes.
And if we have a strong awareness of our capacity, of like available capacity and work coming in, and I will regularly do things like go to a couple of customers and say, these people are sitting around for the next month, half price. Because
Really?
because I've got my sales, and if I get my sales coming in, I've still always got time to ramp anyway.
Okay.
But I know if I lose the ability to charge somebody for one day, I can never get that back, no matter what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I'm
Yeah,
going to use that.
Where inventory businesses, it can sit on the shelf to expiry, right? So that's,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, you can always sell it. And essentially, that's what inventory businesses ultimately do as well. It gets closer to expiry, so they give you 50% discount. Why do we run services teams any different?
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Well, I'm going to do that. Thank you. This is hopefully our listeners are actually enjoying this, because I'm enjoying it. I get, maybe that's half the reason I start these conversations is to bounce ideas. And I think that's one of the challenges that I think a lot of, I felt, is that as the entrepreneur, I feel that sometimes I'm on the being buffeted on the cliff edge by the winds and the cyclone of things I've got to do, and I'm by myself.
Yeah.
And so there's it's lovely to have these conversations, and I've found that if the more people I talk to about and be a bit more open, a bit more raw about what's actually happening, where I want to achieve. Look, I want to achieve big things with Tech Talk. I want to really make a difference, and certainly I really hold my clients' results in very high regard. Often I'll talk to my team and say, is this the best thing for the client? Is what we're saying, yes, we want to put together a profitable option for them, for us, but we also say, well, is this going to give the client the result they're really looking for? That's our North Star, but at the same time, I need to make sure that we make money out of it. So it's
you've got to. We Kluger, even Kluger. I mean, we've struggled. There's pandemic, right? People kind of it's like, as if it hasn't happened, right? You speak to something, and it's like, well, what pandemic? Right? Oh my god, what do you mean your business has had a tough time? Because there are other like building and renovations and stuff that absolutely exploded during the pandemic. Right?
Yes,
I think they're going to struggle in the next 2 years personally, because they've sucked up all the oxygen, right?
Mm.
There's no one in Sydney that needs to get a renovation again for the next 3 years, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because they all did it during the pandemic. And obviously, it's a massive overgeneralization for anybody listening. And if you're in the building industry, don't write dirty comments about it. But
that might be engagement farming, so make the comment, hate on us.
Yeah, that's right. Go for it. It's clickbait. But it should take us a video cutout.
Yeah, that's right.
And then put it out there.
Hate on us. Arrow below. That's right.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what we learned though. How do we retain capacity when it's slow? Because every service company had to go through that. Then I'll tell you the opposite sin, which I think is a bigger sin in service companies. If you run your team at capacity because you're maximizing profit, you will not grow.
Yep.
Because you've got more inventory to sell. So how can you sell? And then you have opportunity cost. You get a juicy deal come along, You can't service it, or you attempt to service it and it goes wrong because you don't have the team, right? And for you, I'm not sure what the lead up time is. It's 6 months for me to get somebody really prepped correctly to be of value to a customer. Probably similar for yourself. So
I'm finding that as well. I'm bringing on board people, and I probably have expected too much of them too soon, and that's absolutely on me as the owner of the business.
Right. So one of the drivers in last year's budget was recruitment. We had to bring on 6 people last year. One of our assumptions was it'd take 6 weeks because unemployment. It always took us about 6 weeks to find somebody.
Yeah,
6 months to place the last person.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah, okay.
And we actually had to change. And so just wrapping it all up, being able to do that long-term forecast informed us that we needed those people. And now we have to change our assumption that it's 3 to 5 months to bring somebody on. So we're going to start recruiting much earlier now. Okay, so
interesting. So when you say recruiting, is it how do you think about that? Do you start indicating to the market, communicating to the market straight away, or how do you start that conversation?
So for us, recruiting is we advertise the job.
Right. Okay. So you just
I might invite some placement agencies that I've worked in before, depending on the type of job. I find they're useful for very, very technical roles. And then the biggest time, not the time isn't I found somebody, I like them, get them on board. That's still a couple of weeks if you're doing that part right. It's just having the candidates come to you, or reaching out in LinkedIn to people and even Seek, and just finding the candidates out there. And then also there's a lot of people that want to move, has been my experience. They're not qualified, so you're going to make a decision where you want to compromise your recruiting. But anyway, I was just wrapping that up as far as particularly for service companies. Having been able to think about your business in terms of drivers, if I do this revenue, this is the number of people I need. Yep. And then consistently start hitting that matrix, like these numbers are actually true, then you can start pushing out further and go, right, I know I don't have a pipeline for 6 months from now, but let's just assume I'm on my game and we did something like this. What does that mean from a people point of view is the great thing. And that's much more fun, Matt.
That's right. Well, I've absolutely loved this this podcast. I really appreciate it. Look, what I'd love to anybody who's listening is comment below and let us know if you've got value out of this conversation. Let us know if if anything in particular comes up for you. What area would you like us to talk about in the future? How do you overcome certain issues? Because remember, I'm going to try to answer it I'm going to only answer it from the perspective that I have, which is, sales and marketing. How do we do sales and marketing out of this? But, as a business owner, I've got to solve it, in a whole bunch of ways with people management, finance management in my own way. But, Daniel, of course, has got this whole other level of thinking. So anytime anybody wants to message us, comment below the video, I'd be more than happy to pick those up and talk about them next time.
Tell us we're wrong. We want to hear from you.
That's right. Tell us we're wrong.
Completely messed it up. So it's the best way to learn when somebody points out the fallacy in your thoughts. So let's do that. So,
very good. Well, I'm going to go do a post-match review because it's the beginning of the month and figure out how to. And now that I've got my forecast, I'm going to look at my post-match review and see what the areas I can make better and sort of shave down or any fat out, get the fat out of the system, see if I can actually make more money. Thanks very much. Catch you later, mate.
Thanks for listening to the CEO and Salesman podcast. If you've got a leadership, sales, or business question, we'd love to hear it. And of course, we'd also love to add our 2 cents on the subject. Tune in for next week where we talk about all these things and more. Bye for now.